So welcome back to the sports segment, and we still have in the house barrister Chris Omolabi. It's quite strange. You're a barrister, and you also love chess. How did it come about?
Chess loves me.
Chess loves you. Lovely.
It has been described as a royal game.
Wow.
The game of kings.
Wow.
The game of life.
Okay.
Chess is the most deadly game on earth.
Okay.
In other games, you do not kill anybody.
Okay.
In chess, you are required to kill the king.
Okay.
If you do not kill the king, you have not won the game.
You know, in most movies, actors don't really die, but in chess, you kill the king.
The king has to die.
Okay.
The king indeed must die.
Okay.
And you must devote your entire strategy,
Okay.
your capacity,
Okay.
your intuition,
Okay.
your tactics, everything you have to killing that king. And once you have killed the king, you have won the game.
Okay.
Now, the king is not helpless
Okay.
because the king is surrounded by so many subordinates. At the right-hand side of the king is the queen, indeed the most powerful piece on the board. To start with, chess is a game played on a board that has 64 squares.
How many people do play the game?
2.
Just 2.
But in some instances, some forms of chess allow multiplayers. That's when you play like a team. It's the members of the team taking turns to make the next move. It's a turn-by-turn game in the sense that one party starts, makes its first move, then the other person responds. Chess has the players, starting with the most important, the king, because the king is the leader of everything on the board. Then you have the queen, who is logically the right hand of the king. Then you have the officers. You have the bishop, you have the knight, and then you have the rook.
It's like a soldier,
Then you have the pawns. The pawns are the soldiers.
Okay.
Now you have alternating colors. You have the black, then you have the white. You also have the board also in colors, black and white, alternatively. There are 64 squares. But even though there are 64 squares, the fastest, strongest computers in the world have not been able to calculate the number of possibilities on the chessboard. It runs into trillions. And as the capacity to compute increase on a yearly basis worldwide, they even find that it's going beyond trillions. The possible number of moves that can be made on that 64 square board. That's why they call it a game of life. Because indeed, life gives us so many possibilities. And I think that anyone who can play chess, anyone who has learned to play chess and can play the game, will be someone who can face life and indeed deal with the challenges of life. Because life comes at you so fast, so quick. Sometimes something seems to be so obvious, but that's the more reason why you have to be careful. Because when you think it is obvious, there may be something you have not seen. That's why the best players can think 30, 40 moves ahead. And indeed, the best computers have seen the end of the game from the beginning. Once you make a move, they know where the game will end.
Wow,
this is the game that when you see them playing it, there's no sound.
Like it's more of tactical, more brain work.
It is brain work. You cannot find an idiot playing chess. It's not possible.
Wow.
It's not possible. Because idiocy is not an abuse.
Okay.
It's a mental state
where
you're unable to rationalize facts. Idiots don't play chess.
It's not being ignorance of the world.
No, it's not ignorance. Idiots don't play chess.
Okay.
So basically, you have people who, deep thinkers, are the ones who play chess. And that's why you find even in movies, when they're trying to represent how complicated the movie is, the camera zooms into a chess set, or zooms into the key actors in the movie pretending to play chess. As a matter of fact, when man, in his bid to develop artificial intelligence, in other words, the capacity of a computer to think like a man, and they were looking for the most complicated task that man engages in, and they couldn't find. The only thing they found was chess.
Wow.
Yes.
It's on record.
It is on record. Okay. And man has been devoted in the last 20 years to developing what they call artificial intelligence to play chess. And if the computer can beat the best human chess player, then the computer has started the journey to think like a man.
Which has not been possible.
Well, there have been computers that beat the reigning world champions.
Computers?
Yes.
With nobody operating?
Well, when you say nobody operating, that may not be strictly correct.
Okay.
Because what has happened is that parallel computers, in other words, when they have synchronized several computers with massive computing capacity, have then been fed, if you might call it, recorded programs, recorded, games.
Okay.
And each time you make a move, the computer searches its database, looking for the next sequence. And it finds it in a split second, and it makes the next move. Wow. And by that, the very first computer in, late 90s, beat the then world champion, Garry Kasparov.
The computer beat the world champion?
Yes, Deep Blue too. Wow. Beat the world champion. It was a devastating moment for humanity. But it was also an elevating moment because it then showed that as humans, we were evolving. We may someday have the capacity to delegate our responsibility to think to the machine. In other words, a machine may actually take over and think for us. It's frightening, but it's also very, 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 very exciting. I mean, when you watch movies like Terminator, it's all built around the idea of the machine taking over the human race. For the machine to do that, the machine must outthink the humans. Machines can't think except they follow our lines of thinking. In other words, our programmed thinking. They say what we put in is what they're bringing out. Exactly. But just imagine if the machine could combine thought patterns, could recognize thought patterns, and could originate thought patterns. Isn't that a dangerous world? What if the machine decides to eliminate all of us because it doesn't need us? Machines don't eat, they don't drink, they don't sleep, they never get tired. And that's why it beat the chess champion. Wow. Because when you're playing chess, at some point in time, your head goes into overdrive. Wow. Yeah, because you have to see the sequences. You have to know the next move, the next move, the next move.
Barrister, see, you can go on and on. But
because that's chess.
If you are watching you now, wants to learn to play the game of chess, what does he need to do? Does he need searching on Google?
I'll give you a personal experience.
Okay.
I tell my children and those who know me that I started chess too late. I started playing in the university. And, I learned it there, and I started trying to play. And I thought I knew how to play chess. And even when I graduated for years again, I didn't play again. But I ended up with some young people who were around my in-laws and, neighbors. I started playing, and I thought I also knew how to play. Then one day I realized that there were people who were better than me, and they could beat me without any effort. So one day I realized that I was not playing chess. I was just moving the pieces. Chess has a body of literature. It's one of the most documented, most rigorous sports that you can actually read to learn. You cannot learn chess if you just play. You have to read it because there are books. So I stumbled on one book and I began to read.
Okay, you read the book.
I began to read and I realized I didn't know how to play chess. Because you see, you start from the basics. It's like mathematics. You are building blocks of chess. They call them first things first, first principles. Opening, the rules of the game, the moves of the pieces, the strategy, the tactics, the use of space, the use of time. The combination of traps and, all kinds of things are in chess. And it's already documented in books. For your information, chess books are expensive. Okay. The producer and obviously the promoter of this TV station is a personal friend who I know he has one of the best libraries in this country. He has a library that I covet. I wish he would agree to give it to me. Because when you see the books he has spent money acquiring on chess, if he were to open a university for chess, I think he would have a valid faculty. They are expensive. They run into thousands of pounds, not naira, pounds.
So that means an upcoming teenager learning the
Well, there are cheaper editions of these books. There are magazines that cost about £4-5, which would probably about 2,000 naira. But those magazines will presume you already know how to play. And therefore, they may be a bit above your learning grade. But there are simpler books. But the best thing is to find a coach. Someone who understands the organic game. Not just someone who plays.
Who understands the game.
One of the challenges we have in this country is that we play sports out of a natural desire to play. We do not have the theoretical foundation to play sports.
Do we have a chess federation in the country presently?
Oh, definitely. The Nigerian Chess Federation is one of the recognized bodies for sports in this country.
And how active is the federation?
Well, to some extent, they are active. You know, as these things are. Sometimes you do not have the right people in the right places. And then, of course, different administrations have different priorities. But I would say that to the extent that at least we are still recognized by FIDE as an active, federation. FIDE is the international organization that covers chess. Chess is not yet an Olympic sport, but it has its own Olympiad, where all the countries of the world show up, on a 2-yearly basis to do what they call the Olympiad. It's held in different countries, per tournament. It's a very massive platform, and it's a very lucrative sport as well. It's also something that if the government were to see its organic benefits, it will help them in molding citizens who have strong analytical skills. Because it's impossible to play chess and not be deeply thoughtful.
And is this a sport that the government should really look into?
Chess is the cheapest sport to promote. Why? You do not need a soccer field. You don't need a stadium. What you need is a board, which on average costs less than 10,000 naira, and then willing players, 2 players. And you can play anywhere. I can have a chess game here with you now. As a matter of fact, within this studio, I can have simultaneous games of chess with 3 or 4 different people. Because all I need to do is to set up a board on 2 tables, and then I will have 4 boards. And you could have 8 people playing at the same time. Chess is also delivered on so many platforms. On most telephone, our handsets
Android
now,
phones, yeah.
Android phones, you have chess programs running.
Exactly.
On our laptops, on so many other interfaces, tablets, you can deliver chess. You cannot deliver football easily, except you buy things like PS3 and PS4 and all these other, gaming consoles. But chess, it's amazing. And when you're playing chess, you'll be amazed at how much you have to think. That by itself develops your cognitive skill. First, you recognize threats. Then you have to solve the problem in anticipation of its arrival. One of the challenges we face as a country is that our leaders seem to react to problems. They are not proactive. Because they've not seen the problems ahead. So they react to it. For example, why should you not have a database of citizens? Why don't you know your citizens? If you do not know your citizens, how are you going to create a credit database? How are they going to access credit from banks, from lending institutions? If they can't do that, how are they going to participate in mortgage? How are they going to buy insurance? How are they going to, in quote, add to the economy in a very cognitive way? You need a database. That database is available if you want it, in the sense that you can actually create the platform to know all your citizens. That helps you to plan. How many people are between the age of 10 and 16?
Because you see, actually, the youth, the teenagers, these are the people that the government should be interested. Because last week we had Joachim Dada, who was still talking about federations, not encouraging school sports. Because I can imagine taking chess down to the schools. How these students, these teenagers will be interested in this sport. This is not being done yet.
If you actually have a school chess program, a few people are doing their best at their own micro level. Among private institutions in Lagos largely, school sports. My kids participated in some of them, but it's difficult for those individuals to keep it running. It's expensive, logistics-wise, and it's time-consuming, and they have no other time to do anything which will earn them income. So if they don't have enough income from that, they may be discouraged. But if government were to do what is being done outside this country now, they would create the capacity to keep children focused. And they would give the children capacity to think analytically. It's difficult to have someone who plays chess, who is impulsive. It's difficult. As a matter of fact, you can even use chess to manage special needs. People with autism, because they are actually gifted, autistic people, they're gifted. If you are able to channel their energy into something that is deeply engrossing like chess, it may calm the child down and focus the child in, expressing himself or herself in a far more, cognitive way than when the energy is not focused and the child tends to be, hyperactive. Now, it will cost government little to nothing because what they would need to do is to include it in the curricula.
School?
Yes, from primary school level. If you start teaching a child who is 4 years old how to play chess, by the time the child is 7 years old, even you will be amazed at the thinking capacity of that child. Because the child will outthink you.
So what advantage does this chess have over a major sport in Nigeria like football? Does he have?
I think
Because people will find a young boy talk more of football than.
I think the biggest turn off for chess is that it's too quiet.
Okay.
And if you are the kind of society that's very big on noise, football will sell. But if you're a calmer society that is, big on thinking, chess will sell. For a lot of people, football is participatory in the sense that they can see what's going on. They can get involved with plenty of noise. They don't get on the field. But in chess, you have to actually observe. And you do not get involved because you cannot interfere with the play. And indeed, you cannot distract the players. So that tends to put people off. And they think, they're just looking at the board and nobody's saying anything. But there's so much violence going up on that board. The violence is incredible, but you don't hear a sound. Why? It's because of the nature of the game. It's an intellectual minds game. It doesn't mean you have to be extraordinarily brilliant. It only means that you have to call the faculties that require you to think deeper into play. It is the most complicated game known to man.
Most complicated?
It is the most complicated of all games known to man. Wow. Because the other ones are very physical. Football is physical. Lawn tennis is physical. Table tennis is physical. Judo, karate, they are all physical. Athletics is physical. Squash, just name it. But chess is extremely intellectual.
Because I know some other sports that involves you moving.
Drafts.
Like drafts.
Well, look,
like scramble.
If I may express it in motoring terms, draft is Volkswagen. Chess is Ferrari.
Wow.
Formula One.
Chess is
it.
Because everything has to do with they have to move.
The draft is pedestrian. Okay. When you see a chess player looking at people playing draft, it's like a professor looking at the kindergarten. Wow. That's how we feel. It might appear to be arrogant, but frankly speaking, I can learn to play drafts within 2 hours and be really very good at it. But to play chess and be good at it, you need months, years of study. Because
a year or more than.
The people who have devoted their time to studying chess, unfortunately, in some instances, they dropped out of university because they couldn't complete their programs. Because chess steals time. When you get into chess, you can start playing in the morning and you'll be unaware of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's as engrossing as that. Because sometimes games are adjourned in the sense that you get to a position, you can't complete the game because there's just no time. So they adjourn it and they resume to continue playing.
In the chess game?
Yes. You cannot adjourn a football match except there's a crowd problem or something you have to replay. Yeah. But you can adjourn a chess position. There's correspondence chess where you could be at a distance. Maybe you could be in another country and you post your move to me and I post my response to you. Wow. These days now, on account of the computer, I can stay here and I can play online with people who are all over the world. Wow. Simultaneous games. Is it possible, for example, for me, if I am good enough to play simultaneous boards, it's possible to play blindfold. As a matter of fact, recently there is a research into the cognitive skills of man and the capacity of man to overcome trauma, brain trauma. The only sport they could use to test the new equipment medically is chess.
Wow. I really love this sport now. I need to join. I need to learn how to play chess these days.
If you learn how to play chess, you get a huge dose of self-respect because you begin to see yourself, and when you look at others, especially when you are in public and either they are discussing or they are engaging with issues, you look at them differently. because you see that they have not exhausted the options open to them. You hardly find chess players fighting in public. Yeah, because they can calculate what the possibilities are if they were to begin a particular action. But when you cannot think beyond the first situation, there's tendencies that you might just do what you think you should do, then you think afterwards. But chess players are very analytical. They think beyond the first, second, third, sometimes the 40th possibility. And that's why they truly are considered extremely intelligent.
Is there any myths presently, any international myths now that the government, our government now should work on in terms of encouraging the chess players?
Well, for example, I have argued in different fora that we need to have a structured program that allows us to expose our best players to the opportunities of gaining what is called the norms. You know, there are classifications in chess, and the highest is Grandmaster. There's the super Grandmasters. Those are the best of the lot, and there are not many. There's a rating list worldwide, and you find that the highest placed Nigerian probably is just middle of the board. But if there was opportunity for the country to expose its brightest players, and we do have bright players.
In Nigeria?
Oh, we do have them. One thing about this beautiful country is that we are extremely blessed. We have a capacity to do nearly anything that any other person anywhere in the world can do. We just don't have the platform. We don't have the opportunity. And that's why we may seem not to be, in quotes, as gifted as others. But I can assure you that if they had opportunities to compete at the highest level, Nigerians will surprise the world. Given the limitations of our circumstances, we will surprise the world. I have played abroad. I have played in England several times in competitions. Okay. I have played, with foreigners. And when I play, I find that they are always amazed at my own, what I consider rudimentary skills. Because I have played with other people in this country who are so much better than me. And so when I go abroad and I play, and they are amazed at my playing level, they are wondering, but you do not have the rating, and you can play like this. I just laugh. Because how do I explain to them that I have a situation where I am not allowed to compete at my level or compete at my best? So this is a challenge that the government can look into by creating opportunities, creating access. Sometimes you don't have to invest directly by yourself as government, but you can use your capacity as government to make corporate citizens assist in driving a program like, expansion in chess. In England, there's this program that was, started by a non-profit organization. They call it Chess in Schools and Communities, CSC.
In England?
In England.
We can borrow a leaf from them?
We can borrow more than a leaf. We can borrow the whole tree.
Wow. Wow.
And you'll be amazed at what they've achieved. In the last 4, 5, 6 years that they started this program.
Chess in Schools.
And Communities, CSC. They have a website. If you log on to it, they've managed every year. They've furthered the reach of chess. And they've even gone to a European level, where they got the European Parliament to pass a law allowing chess to be inserted in the curricula of primary schools. They started with the basic modest, goal of reaching the first 200 schools. Then the next 1,000 schools. Then the next 2,000 schools. Wow. And now they are on a European level. And how do they fund? They don't get funding from government, They get funding from corporate institutions. Because it's a non-profit, it's a charity. They don't pay tax. They hold competitions, they hold events, and then they get high-profile people. And then they have a classic. When they have, it's like a kind of, annual program where they, largely round up the season. And then they invite the 10 best players in the world, 2 of their best players in England, and then maybe 2 wild cards. And then they have a segment where those top players get to play with corporate barons, MDs of banks, MDs of, healthcare, industries and all of that. And it's a gala. It's a dinner. It's an opportunity for those people who ordinarily are so busy, but who love chess. They are enthusiasts. They are people who, maybe when they were in school, they played it. Maybe when they were growing up, they played it. But
so it's not just a sport for elites. It's not just
it's a sport for everybody.
Everybody, not for elites. Okay.
No, it is the most unelitist sport.
Okay.
It is just called the game of kings because it is a game of strategy.
Okay.
But beyond that, you actually can be poor and play chess. You don't need to be rich. For example, you cannot do Formula One without being incredibly deeply rich. You can't do polo without being very rich. You can't even swim if you're not rich because you need to access swimming pools. You can't play lawn tennis if you don't join a club. But chess, just buy a board, find someone who can play, and you are on. So these are some of the things we can borrow at the national level to help expand the game and, of course, help the citizens be more cognitive in their thinking. There's no possibility of loss in chess. Everything is game.
Oh, thank you, Barrister. On the final note, what advice will you give to somebody then that is aspiring to become a chess player and is kind of discouraged by maybe the environment, maybe the government, everybody is not encouraging? What we need to tell that young man or the young lady there watching us?
Depending on the age bracket. If it's a young child between 7 and 12, I want the child to know that losing is the best way to learn how to win.
Okay.
But if it's someone already in tertiary institutions who's going to university, he or she cannot go beyond a particular level anymore,
Okay.
in the sense that he cannot become professional. And therefore, he will be playing largely out of love and passion. He or she would need to invest in books. Books give you the framework for the game and teach you to know what to do and what not to do. For those who are professional players, I would ask them not to be discouraged by the lack of opportunities. And what they need to do is access opportunities that are available now worldwide. Because you see, the internet has created a global community. Okay. I know people who, thanks to Mr. Idada that you mentioned earlier on, okay, on account of him and them leveraging their opportunities, they ended up going abroad to teach other people how to play chess. Okay. Some of them have become citizens of those countries now. Okay. Some have traveled, that I know personally, that traveled on the platform of chess, just playing chess. And there are some who are here who earn an income that they cannot even earn in some industries, just by teaching chess. Because they go around schools, private schools especially, and then they hold classes. Okay. They are not even full-time employees of those schools. They are contractors. They move from school to school, and then on account of that, they earn fantastic incomes right here in this country. So chess can actually create job opportunities, employment opportunities for our young people. Okay. So that if they learn enough, they can go and teach younger people who do not know as much. You can even teach adults. Oh. So for chess, like I said, it's win-win.
Thank you very much. We've been discussing with Barrister Chris Omolabi, a practicing lawyer and also a professional, let me use the word, chess player. So don't forget to like our Facebook page. Our campaign for 2,000 likes is still on. Like our Facebook page. You can search ASEN TV on Facebook, search ASEN TV, and also on Instagram. This is just a way to reward you, our teaming viewers. Till we meet again next week on this same station, ASEN TV. Keep on watching ASEN TV. God bless you.